Bonjour and welcome to French Action. Today I would like to share an example of an essay in French which was written by one of my students, and this will give you a good idea of how to write an essay. Vous êtes prêts? C'est parti! Let's read the instructions together. Vous avez lu dans un journal, avec l'ordinateur, les enfants n'ont plus besoin d'apprendre à écrire à la main. Écrivez une lettre au journal pour dire ce que vous en pensez. 200 mots minimum. Développez au moins 3 arguments pour défendre votre point de vue. Okay, so now we are at the preparation stage, which is in fact your plan. So you have the question with, I call it question, but it's really the statement. Avec l'ordinateur, les enfants n'ont plus besoin d'apprendre à écrire à la main. Okay, so now think about the structure. Remember, it's a letter. So the letter will start with an introduction, and then you're going to have your 3 parts because it says find 3 arguments to defend your viewpoint. So it means that you will have 3 parts because you'll have 3 arguments, okay? Do you agree or disagree with the statement? And you will end the letter with a conclusion. I would like to show you the structure of the letter very quickly. We're not going to read it now, but I would like you to spot several things. Number 1, the introduction. Number 2, the 3 parts showing the 3 ideas that you're going to defend. Number 3, the conclusion. Number 4, the connectors between paragraphs. Number 5, the ending part that we find in letters, to close a letter. If you can find all these in this letter, then you know that the structure is good. And I can say that I can find all these, so I am very happy with the structure. So let's read the introduction. So obviously it's a letter, so it's going to start with Madame. Je fais suite à l'article dans votre journal qui indiquait que, avec l'ordinateur, les enfants n'ont plus besoin d'apprendre à écrire à la main. Bien que je comprenne votre analyse, en tant que professeur pendant 10 ans et analyste d'affaires depuis 15 ans, j'ai un avis mitigé sur le sujet et je vais vous l'exposer par 3 arguments principaux. So we can see here it's clearly a response to an article she read in the newspaper. She says that although she understands the viewpoint expressed in the article, she has a mixed view. Well, having a mixed view goes against the instruction, which, remember, it says, defend your viewpoint. So really, you should be able to say whether you agree with the statement or not. And by saying, I have a mixed view, you're not really saying it, okay? So that is one point here. I would like to draw your attention to je fais suite, and je vais vous l'exposer. I underline this 2 sentences so that you can see how you can write. Next time you have an essay, you might want to use those. I like je vais vous l'exposer par 3 arguments principaux because she's really telling you what is going to happen in the essay. So we know that 3 arguments are going to come up. And that is very good. So she skipped a line so that she can start the first paragraph. Let's read it together. Pour commencer, en moyenne, les enfants passent 3 ans de leur vie à apprendre les lettres, les nombres et à composer des mots, des phrases, des formules, des chansons, etc. Cependant, le but de cette étape est de s'assurer qu'ils sont capables de communiquer avec les autres à travers l'écriture et la lecture. Si l'ordinateur était introduit pour remplacer ces longues heures d'enseignement d'écriture à la main, le processus d'apprentissage de la communication pour l'écrit serait considérablement plus court. En plus, les étudiants seraient à l'aise beaucoup plus tôt avec l'utilisation de la technologie. So the first thing she's saying is that children spend quite a lot of time of their lives. It's 3 years. They learn letters, numbers, and they learn to write words and so on. And this is done for a particular reason. And obviously, if the computer was or were introduced to replace all these long hours where they learned all this, then you can see that learning to communicate would be really much shorter. Okay, so she's explaining that. It's well written, okay, you can see pour commencer with the connector I mentioned earlier. I'm not sure about composer des mots. I would prefer to see écrire des mots than composer. It sounds like to compose, you know, which we see on the computer. But it's fine. So, let's read the second paragraph together. En outre, depuis les 2 dernières décennies, nous continuons à voir la conversion des systèmes manuels en systèmes automatiques. Même aujourd'hui, on utilise moins de fiches et de processus manuels, ce qui signifie que la compétence en lecture reste très importante, mais ce n'est pas le cas pour l'écriture manuscrite. Par exemple, auparavant, une transaction bancaire commençait par une visite à la banque et des formulaires précis par transaction à remplir. De nos jours, la majorité de ces activités sont réalisées par les clients sur leurs ordinateurs ou portables sans avoir besoin d'écrire à la main. So in this paragraph, she's really saying that reading remains important, which is not the case for writing by hand. She uses an example, which is good. Always use examples to back up your views. And she referred to a bank transaction which used to involve the completion of forms. However, nowadays, most transactions are conducted online, hence no need to write anymore. So, let's read the third paragraph. En revanche, malgré les progrès en informatique, les technologies et les systèmes automatiques peuvent tomber en panne. Si cela arrivait, l'entreprise devrait avoir un plan manuel pour continuer à servir ses clients jusqu'à ce que le problème soit résolu. Nul doute que ces mesures incluront toujours l'écriture. Si ces leçons n'existent pas dans les écoles, les personnes affectées risquent de ne pas pouvoir s'adapter facilement. So this paragraph starts with on the other hand, which is en revanche, a very good connector to know. Because if you remember, she had said that she had a mixed view about the whole thing. However, despite the development in IT, technology can break down, which is true, you know. If this happens, companies will need to resort to writing by hand. And she ends by saying that writing will always be needed because obviously if technology breaks down, you need to resort to writing by hand. Okay? So this is her third part, and the reason why I underline en revanche is because I didn't like the en which was used quite a lot, en outre, en plus, en revanche. So I decided to use cependant, which by the way was used twice. Okay, so it was used once, and if I put it there, then it's going to be used twice. So what do you think? Should it be en revanche or cependant? We are coming to the final part of the letter, which is the conclusion. Finalement, comme je l'ai démontré, les deux aspects de la discussion présentent des arguments valables et tant que nous ne trouvons pas de solution pour les systèmes manuels, l'écriture à la main reste très utile. Dans l'espoir que vous comprendrez mon point de vue, je vous prie d'agréer, Madame, mes salutations distinguées. So here she concludes by saying that there are two sides to the discussion, which are both valid, which might explain her mixed view. And then she wrote the closing sentence, and I like dans l'espoir que vous comprendrez mon point de vue, with the hope that you will understand my viewpoint, blah, 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 blah. I think that she ends the letter very well. So here we know it's the conclusion because of finalement, which is a good connector to use. She could have used as well en conclusion, but finalement is fine. So here the purple color shows you the various tenses that the student used. So we have in the first part, we have the imperfect and the subjunctive. Then in the fourth paragraph, we have again the imperfect, but also the conditional and the subjunctive in the passive voice. And in the conclusion, we have the passé composé. So always try to use various tenses to show the examiner that you master them. I would like to share my tips with you. So first of all, you need to read the instructions carefully. If you have to defend your viewpoint, then find arguments with examples, okay? Second, remember to use connectors so that your essay is logical and flows well. Third, avoid repetitions and use synonyms where possible. And that's what I try to do with cependant. I didn't like the repetition of en, so I prefer to use cependant, but it was a problem as well because cependant was used already. Number 4, use various tenses where possible to show the examiner that you can move from one tense to the other. My 5th tips is I advise you to read the whole essay aloud. When you do that, you might hear something which doesn't sound quite right. For example, if you say je vas instead of je vais, you will hear je vas and you will say, oh no, that's wrong. And you hopefully put the extra I to make it je vais. So read it, and that, I can tell you, will work. Tip number 6, do not write too much, because the more you write, the more mistakes you make. So try not to write too much, especially when they ask you to write something, for a certain number of words minimum. When it's maximum, it's easy, but when it's minimum, you don't know how much to write. Do not write too much. And my last one, always read your work one more time before submitting it if you're writing for an exam. Okay? Always leave a little bit of time before, even if you have finished, reading over and over is always good, because you might see something which you say, oh gosh, I miss an S there, or I miss a comma over there. All right? So my view on the essay, well, it's a good essay in terms of structure, level of accuracy in the language. I mean, I must admit, I have corrected her mistakes, but on the whole, it's her essay. The only part I disagreed with is that she didn't really stick to one view. the newspaper mentioned one particular statement. Okay, so the statement was basically, well, you know, with the use of the computers, maybe we won't need to write. And I think that she should have really said the opposite and find 3 examples, 3 arguments backed by 3 examples. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Please like the video if you enjoyed it and don't forget to subscribe. Au revoir!